Hey everyone, welcome. We want to welcome you to This Week at Ringgold. I'm Don Conley, the pastor here at Ringgold, and this is Jeff Tomlian, our family minister here at Ringgold as well. And we want to take some time and we want to share this week a little bit about what we're doing in our children's ministry. And for some of you, we might take for granted that you know who Jeff is and what Jeff does behind the scenes and his family. And so we just want to have some time to connect with you today. The first thing I want to say right off the bat is we really appreciate our children's ministry and all of our children's volunteers and staff that makes this happen, because we believe that we have to focus on the future of our church. The church is only one generation away from extinction. Now, if you didn't understand what I said, let me say that again. We're just one generation away from extinction. And I've heard that statement my entire life in ministry. I've said that a lot. I know it kind of sounds melodramatic, yet when you look at it and you investigate it, there's a lot of validity to this. So we believe that our children's ministry is a vital part of what we do in the overall scope of ministry. So Jeff, if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, your family and how long you've been here at Ringgold.
Okay, so I've been to Ringgold going on almost 10 years. It's amazing that I've been here that long. It just so quickly went by. I'm married, 31 years to Debbie, this is my wife. I have 3 kids, 19, 21, and 23. They grow up fast. It's amazing too. And so, you know, and then we've been involved in ministry most of our lives, but it's full-time ministry. We really jumped into full-time ministry and gave up our secular work about 14, 15 years ago. And I was involved more in adult ministry for several years in pastorate. I was an interim for a while, interim pastor for 3 years. And in the transition out of the interim pastor, we were actually coming here to Ringgold for midweek stuff for our kids. My wife was really good at making sure I worked a lot, so she was really careful about getting them involved. And so we were introduced to Ringgold Church in about 2008, I think, is when we first, 2007, 2008 is when we first were introduced to Ringgold. We started coming to midweek stuff. Then on the weekends, we travel for 3 years to the church that we were serving. And in the transition there, the former kids ministry leader asked if I would be interested in serving and helping. They were trying to get more men involved in the ministry, which is amazing. And so I said, yeah, I'll help. We weren't sure exactly our next move. And it was during that transition period, about 6 months that I was serving here, just to kind of help out. There was some changes being made, and then you guys invited me to come on, and I've been grateful. It's been it's more challenging, I think, than adult ministries, but it's really been a great experience for us, for me, and learning how to not only lead kids but lead leaders and trying to accomplish some of the goals that we've put in place.
We're grateful that you stepped in and did that. You've done an amazing job, and we appreciate that piece of it. So right now, our world's been turned upside down. And with all this COVID-19 and social distancing and all these precautions and not being able to meet together. And so even though we're going to talk about kids ministry and what we typically do, we're doing things a little bit out of the box right now.
Yeah, totally.
So what are we doing right now in kids ministry?
So one of the things that we're doing is following David's lead. He's one of our tech guys here in our ministry, our worship pastor here, and learning how to take what we do on Sunday mornings online and really trying to connect with kids online. So every week we produce and create a service online that we then present and encourage some feedback, and we have a chat session and through Zoom. Then we also connect with some of the families We do challenges in encouraging our families to be a part of that. And really, we're trying to make that transition as seamless as possible. For now, it's different because I prefer up front, but now they're behind the screen and we're on opposite sides of the screen. So it's been a challenge learning the different platforms and software and getting it out there. So I'm grateful for the help that we received to do that, and just trying to be creative and figuring out how to do what we do on Sunday online. So try to make that transition as seamless as possible. So. Yeah.
So all of us were throwing a curveball trying to figure out this piece. And
yeah, it's been
so I appreciate
a huge learning curve.
I appreciate your openness and willingness to kind of be flexible in the midst of all this, to be able to do this. And it's neat that there's all these resources out there that we already had that they made available to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. One of the things I was thinking about when we were talking about doing this interview piece was several years ago. It's over 25 years ago, I went home to Indiana for a funeral, and a relative had passed away. The service was at a country church out in the boonies, and so we had the service there, and then they had the burial right literally across the street in the cemetery. So we were all there, what have you, and one of my little ones, I don't know if it was Donna Joe or David, whichever one it was, we needed a high chair, because they had the meal back at the church. So everything was kind of done like right there on their campus. And so when we got in, I didn't see any high chairs anywhere. Now, I grew up in this town, this community, and this church has been pretty vital and pretty active in ministry and children's ministry, youth ministry through the years. But I didn't see any high chairs anywhere. So as we were getting ready to eat, I went and asked one of the ladies who were volunteering that day, like, yeah, high chair, and she just had this blank look on her face, like, what's that? Like I haven't seen one of those in years.
Yeah, that's sad.
So
really
she goes,
hard.
I think we have one. Would you go with me? And we'll go looking for it. So we started going back hallway, storage area, and finally she goes, I think there's one back here. And back in this closet was this high chair with all these old VBS banners and posters and all this kind of stuff. And it was obvious this high chair had not been used in years. It was covered in dust. And she goes, well, if you could reach back here and grab hold of that thing, we could use that. We pulled it out, and she goes, I'll go get a rag and we'll wipe all this down. And she, she said, I'm sorry, but it's been a long time since we had a little one around here where we had to use or had any need for a high chair. And one of the things that hit me with that was the cemetery had moved from across the street into the church building.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't even know if they really realized that, like, they were dying.
Yeah.
And that statement, we hadn't had anybody here for years, really struck a nerve with me. And one of the things I heard Rick Warren say many years ago was, where there is no vision, the people will perish. And I would add to that, if there's no concern for the church of tomorrow, there's going to be very little power in the church of today.
Yeah.
And I think it's our responsibility to dust off the high chairs, and how do we do that? By having quality, relevant biblical instruction for kids in the church, because we are just one generation away from
That's so true.
extinction. And history, what's the old saying?
History.
You don't pay attention, history does repeat itself. And we kind of get lost sometimes looking forward, and we tend to forget what has happened. Judges chapter 2 verse 10 says this: after the whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, another generation grew up who neither knew the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. One generation neither knew the Lord or what he had done. And if that happened thousands of years ago, that can easily happen today. So when I think about our kids, you and I have seen through our years of ministry how methods have changed, but principles never do. The Word of God never does. So methods are many. We want to do anything short of sin to reach people for Jesus, with the gospel. And man, kids are being hammered, from every direction, whether it's, being told they evolved from an ape or they happened by accident by a cosmic explosion, which is ludicrous. it takes more faith to believe in that stuff
Sure,
than it does
sure.
to believe in God.
Yeah.
You know, no wonder they have a poor self-image when it comes to all this. And then all the things they have to deal with. Think about the things you and I had to deal with
Yeah, it's totally different.
back in the old days. I mean, what were some of the worst things we had to deal with? We got in trouble with. You know, you got in trouble for chewing gum in school.
Yeah.
You know, and you got in trouble for smoking in the bathroom in Christian
right.
school. And so you didn't know that, did you? He was a bad boy. So, you know, or skipping class. You know, that was like the big things that would happen.
Right.
Well, now what are they incurring? I mean, they're having to deal with drugs and alcohol.
Right.
You know, depression, suicide,
Anxiety is an all-time high.
absolutely.
There's so many factors.
School shootings, kids scared to death. I mean, things that you and I would never even thought about happen to share with kids. I mean, let alone ministering to teenagers, but with children today. So when we built the building we're in today, when we do have church on campus, and we're looking forward to that at some point.
We are. We're looking forward to you guys coming back.
So our children's ministry area is a secure area.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of emphasis in that when we built the facility here, because we do want to expand and reach as many young people as we can. We want to have it to be safe,
Sure.
a loving environment to share the gospel. So what would you say to a parent that comes, you know, maybe never been a part of a church, you know, not that we're like this
Right.
massive
Right.
mega church type thing,
Sure.
but we have all these protocols, check in, all these kind of things, and, you know, stickers and, you know, all these double checks, you know, make sure you get the right kid when you check
Sure.
them in, check them out type thing. So what would you say to a parent going, man, this is like over the top?
Well, so if I would describe kids ministry in 3 words, it's safe, clean, and fun. Okay, and you hit the nail on the head with the safety part. Is we really do work hard at making parents alleviate the stress of dropping their kids off in the kids ministry area. It's a locked facility, and it's fun watching this is not fun. Probably shouldn't say this, but it's fun to watch parents try and leave the kids wing because they can't get out. And then you got to show them, you got to push a little button. Because once you're in, you have to push buttons or ask to let to get out. But you can't get in without somebody allowing you to get in, opening the door. We have so that's in the protocols. We have protocols in place for people who shouldn't be in there, those type things. We also have an amazing check-in system. So we keep track of your kids all morning long. And again, you can't get your kids out unless you have your little sticker and with identifying numbers. And so we really do try to keep that in mind and let parents know this is a really safe place to keep your kids, and it's clean too. And we have people who help keep the place amazingly clean. And our environments are really fun and age appropriate. Upstairs is our preschool area, and we're continuing to work on that. And our downstairs is our elementary, and in that area, we've been doing some more improvements there. So it's a fun place to be. And when the kids come in, their eyes light up, and it's really I appreciate people's vision and help to get it to that. So clean, safe, and fun.
Okay. You know, in the Old Testament, we see it in the New Testament, but it kind of ties the New Testament and the Old Testament together. And we see it in Deuteronomy chapter 6, where it talks about love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And so the writer goes on to say, these commandments I've given to you, let them be upon your hearts. And the one thing that stands out to me about this passage is he says, impress them upon your children.
Yes.
You know,
it's a great passage.
You know, talk about it when you sit at home, you know, so it's not just something that happens at church, you know, as you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up, you know, all these different things. And he even talks about writing them on the door frames of your houses and your gates. I mean, you know, keeping it out in front, keeping your focus on the Lord, on Jesus. Right. So this passage primarily speaks in Deuteronomy to parents. But as a church, we want to come alongside and partner with parents. And we want to awaken this generation to Jesus Christ, to know him as Savior and Lord. So what I want you to do is just kind of, you know, talk about a little bit of what's going on in the lives of children today that you've kind of seen in ministry.
I think, growing up, as you said earlier, when we grew up, man, we were out the door early in the morning, and we came in. We either had to go to the bathroom or you're hungry, coming back to the house. And so, there was a lot of
Your mama locked you out of the house, didn't you?
I'm sure she did sometimes. But those are repressed memories.
Okay.
So, but and we played baseball in the streets. We had a safe street we lived on. We didn't wear helmets. We jumped our bikes over the ramps and crashed ourselves, and we lived through it. Today, it's just a different culture. And as far as safety goes, and trying to keep our kids safe when they're out. Now we have a hard time letting our kids out of our sights, but that's indicative of the culture and the experiences that we hear on the news, and experiences that people have unfortunately have had to deal with. There's even some challenges at home as well that some of our kids face every day, every week. In fact, we have many of our kids come every other week, because that week they're here, and the next week they're with the other parent. Mm-hmm. And that's a challenge too. And trying to navigate that and help kids navigate that is sometimes challenging. And it's good for us to remember, because kids come in and they have different attitudes at times, and in trying to help us, remembering to be a little more understanding when kids, that Johnny I don't remember Johnny being like that type thing. Right. But extending grace and learning how to, and one of the things that we're really trying to do is really, Don, we only get on average 40 hours a week, 40 hours a year with these kids, with each family. And so we really want Sunday to be one of the best days of that week, or that hour that we get with those kids. And we want them to remember what they've learned. We want them to, just enjoy the relationships of the leaders that and we have an amazing team I just love these guys that serve in kids ministry. And we want them to remember those relationships and their experience at church. And when they get older, man, they remember that, and it draws them. It's just such a great experience that they don't forget where the people that love them and the gospel that was given to them and the difference that it made in their lives. So we really want that day that they're here to be impressive for them.
So ministry's changed a lot over the years.
Yes.
Especially when you and I were in children's ministry.
Yeah, it really has.
A couple days ago, from jet cadets and whirlybirds and flannel graph to, it was a big deal when I was doing youth ministry and stuff. When I first started, DVDs, of course it was VCR.
Yeah. You are old, dude.
Cassette tapes, and then we went to DVDs and all these different things. But now you're doing like large group, small group, technology, videos, digital, a lot of interactive piece of it. And how does that work?
Well, so one of the things that we need to remember, that the message always stays the same. And our whole goal is to make Jesus irresistible to kids. That's our vision statement, is making Jesus relevant in their lives, in what they do, and applicable to everyday decisions. And so one of the things that we know is that God uses people who can make a difference in their lives. And one of the best ways to help a child know God is to get them to know someone who knows God, okay? And to bring these relationships together. And our curriculum is so age appropriate, and our leaders are aware of the influence that they have with these kids. And so with our large group, it's a bit different. We call our Sunday morning experience Sunday School 2.0, because it's an upgrade from Sunday School that we used to do. Mm-hmm. And so the lesson is taught in a large group. There's worship, there's offering, and different things that they can experience in the large group. That's where the lesson is taught by a couple dedicated leaders in both the preschool and the elementary. And then what they do is, after the lesson is taught, then they go back to their small groups. and in the classrooms with their leaders. And then there's a lot of application, a lot of review, and prayer. And our leaders are so good at connecting with kids and understanding where they're at and helping them understand that Jesus can be their forever friend. And the curriculum is so age appropriate, and they just it just works really well. And we're just so tickled with how all that comes together. It's been over the past few years learning how to do that better. But we really appreciate the efforts that our leaders have really put into making that happen.
Well, these kids are so used to so many things coming at them.
Yeah, we're competing with a lot. Technology, the devices they have in their hands at home, and it's so readily available. And trying to compete with that is really hard. So we're, a lot of the stuff we use is digital. We do a lot of music, a lot of actions. We do, interlace our lessons with video. Lots of experience too. We try to keep it fun. Our kids ministry, our lessons fun. For instance, one of the things we were teaching on John the Baptist a few months ago, and what we did was we took shredded wheat and I laid it out and I covered it with chocolate. It's crunchy, and so we, because John the Baptist is kind of a crazy guy, right, a little bit, and locusts and wild honey, and so we gave the kids, we gave them some honey, and then I gave them some of this chocolate-covered grasshopper legs. Okay, that's what we called it, and so when they bit into it, they felt the crunch, Right. But here they didn't know it was shredded wheat. So I forgot to tell them. Later that day, I get a call from the parent. Jeff, what are you doing feeding my kids?
I think Braylon came home. Papa, I grasshoppers in church that you did what?
Yeah, but that's one of the ways that we can compete with the culture that they're immersed in is the experience. We do use digital, but it's hands-on, and our classes, the groups, our leaders, our small groups, they're so good at really immersing them in the experience of the lesson that they're learning that day.
So what would you say to parents maybe who came to Ringgold, and hey, we fully understand that when you come, your children are your absolute prized possession, and we respect that. We love you for that. But we also think that children's ministry is a great opportunity to point them in the right direction. So what would you say to parents today, maybe who have never tried out, children's program or never even ventured into the children's ministry area, and okay, I'm going to drop my kid off at Kids Men today. Yeah. So what would you say to them?
Well, I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, because parents want to know their kids are safe. And they want to know that they're being taken care of. They're being, and they can drop them off, knowing that they can come to the service, enjoy the service, and not have to worry about the kids. So, and those that are a bit concerned about that, we have buzzers that they can take, and if there's an issue, we have just a great staff of, I call them kid services, people, part of our staff, that know they can come out and get our parent whenever if we need a parent. So we have ways of addressing that if there's a need. There may be, and we do have kids, the separation anxiety, first time type thing. Our goal is to reassure the parent and let them know that if there's an issue, that they're not they're within reach of their child. But to let them know, there's just, first of all, it's really safe, and our kids, our leaders, they just love kids, and we really do, try to make them feel as comfortable as possible in the experience.
So, we talk about doing some of the fun stuff that we do here, when it comes to program stuff on Sundays and Wednesday nights. But what are some of the fun things that you guys do even outside of that throughout the year that, maybe folks kind of miss, or that's an opportunity for parents to get involved and help and do things and what have you, that kind of gives us a ministry opportunity for fellowship and stuff, and activities with our kids, but also an outreach
Right.
piece for others to kind of come and, if you want to say, kick the tires,
Yeah.
type thing.
So we have several different places that can happen throughout the year, depending on the season. Christmas, we do a couple of really cool things. Jingle Jam is so much fun, and we do a coffee house with the whole church, Christmas coffee house, and with Jingle Jam, where we kick the Christmas season off, and we really encourage parents and the kids to be involved. It's an event that the whole family can be involved in. We have Kidsmas caroling, where kids show up on Christmas. We have a birthday party for Jesus and Christmas, and we do hayride Christmas caroling through the village here at Ringgold. There's VBS. VBS is always a great place, if you want to see what it's like. And really, what we do on Sunday morning is like a really mini VBS. With the amount of energy and things that we put in for Sunday morning. So VBS is a great entrance place. We, in the fall, we do Trunk or Treat in Smithsburg. That's a big event. We partner with other churches, and they can come in and see what it's like. Just throughout the year, we have all this back to school bash. We have camp in the summer. We have summer camp, and just different places that they can plug in and kind of get their feet wet, and then visit perhaps on a Sunday morning. And they can go online and look at the website and see some of the stuff that we do as well. So,
I always think it's cool when you see kids, who grew up in church and participate in all these things, and then they're the ones coming back and serving at VBS.
I love that.
Helping.
Yeah. That's been an amazing part of the ministry. I've been here long enough that a lot of the teens that serve today were in kids ministry when I first started, and to see them come up and train them and be a part of camp and VBS and even help on Sunday morning. I partner with our student pastor, Chris. He does a great job in really connecting teens as part of our volunteer staff too. They do such a great job. And the kids look at them like heroes. So I just love, and I love to see that.
Right.
That whole process.
Yeah, it's exciting when even like my daughter's like, what's going to happen with church camp this summer?
Yeah.
And she started when she was even before school going, when I was serving.
Yeah, camp is so much fun.
And she can't wait to go to her week and to go and serve. And
she served in our camp my week. I don't know how many years. Yeah, several years.
So I mean, it's neat to see that, and I've seen that through the years, and then you see them become adults and families and serving and doing, and that's what ministry is all about. And that's what we want your families to experience, and first and foremost, to feel welcome here, to enjoy what's taking place here. We want to see you meet Jesus here, grow in Christ, and broken lives are only mended through Jesus, and we can't fix this ourselves. We need Jesus, and that's what we're here to partner together. When it comes to the family, to make sure that we point them in the right direction. So as we kind of close out today, you got a captive audience here, today. A lot of times in church, here's what happens is we start thinking, well, somebody else is going to take care of that. Somebody else is going to help with the kids. Somebody else is going to teach our kids. Somebody else is going to go on a trip. Somebody else is going to go on camp. Somebody else is going to do VBS and what have you. And they forget that they are someone else.
Right.
And so you got a captive audience right now, unless they turn us off. So what would you say to them? Their role is, especially as a member of our church family here, of helping to awaken this next generation.
I think so. The big word that I would use would be involvement. And in kids ministry, this is kind of an issue through almost all churches, especially the groups of churches that I partner with and work with and bounce ideas off of. Building an amazing volunteer culture is probably one of the biggest challenges in kids ministry and involvement. One of the things that I would really like to stress is we don't babysit. It's not from the nursery. We have great nursery workers from the nursery up through 5th grade. It's not babysitting. We really are intentional. And we have a small window. It's called the 4-14 window, from the ages of 4 to 14. If we were to poll and just ask this question, when were you introduced to Jesus? And 70% of people will say The statistics show that 70% of the people will say between that 4 and 14 window. And so it's the kids ministry is a vital ministry, not only in this church, but in all the churches. And for whatever reason, kids, parents or volunteers or people who serve in kids ministry, they're afraid it's a black hole that they're going to get stuck in and never get released from. Okay, and I understand that. And so the biggest thing that I would challenge you to do is to begin to explore what God is doing in the next generation, and ask Him about how you can be involved in that. And it would be two of the great places to do that would be either in kids ministry or with the teens. And we're always looking for people to serve with kids ministry, and we'd like to rotate them out. Those types of things. There's training, but it's just a great opportunity to make a difference in the lives of the next generation. And again, I go back to the statement: the best way for a kid to know God is to introduce them to somebody who knows God, and to build that relationship. And so we really would, that would be the biggest thing is come check it out. Check out what we do, and find a place that you might be able to serve. And we have, you don't necessarily have to work in, the kids space as far as dealing with, working with kids. We have office, places, check-in, administrative stuff, just different places. So that the biggest challenge would be, the biggest word would be involvement. Get involved. Find a place that you can serve to make a difference in the next generation.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thanks for the challenge.
Yeah.
And I would say to you parents, the Bible talks about this precious gift that God has given to us, and He entrusts us with this gift. And to me, it's always that, if we're not careful, we think the gift is mine. Like, I'm going to hold on to this for dear life. But it talks about train up a child in the way he or she should go.
Sure.
And we're supposed to unwrap this gift and basically present it back to God, is what God is calling us to do. And don't take that lightly. Don't take that lightly, because, hey, time here goes by quickly. Like you said, kids grow up quick.
They grow fast.
And, these are impressionable years. And very important years, and we want them to know Jesus and love Jesus and serve Jesus, and know that they have an eternity and a hope, and they can make a difference in this world, because this is a dark place.
One of the greatest theologians I know said to me one time, Jeff, your kids are your ministry. Your kids are your ministry. That theologian was my wife. Okay. And so, it goes to Ringgold Church. It goes to the other churches. Your kids are your ministry. God calls us, is calling us to the next generation. And so, it's a high calling. I mean, there's other places to serve. We understand that too, but we believe that the next generation, as you opened our interview with, is really vital to the survival of the church.
Well, I want to thank you first of all for your time today.
Thank you.
Time to be able to share and let people know a little bit more about what we're doing, a little more about yourself. And I want to say personally that, I appreciate Jeff. You're more than just a friend. You're a brother and a partner in ministry. Yeah. And I've enjoyed the last 10 years and look forward to the next 20 years.
I was going to say, you might want to.
So, yeah. So we'll be the seniors. Pastor, maybe we could do some activities with the seniors then. And we'll let all the young guns be the leaders in the church.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you and Debbie and your children and your family, your faithfulness, your integrity, and all that you poured into the ministry here. And thank you for your faithfulness and your service here at Ringgold.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, hey, thanks for taking time to be with us this week at Ringgold. Until next time, God bless you. Take care.